Hi guys, I'm back. Oh, just listen to that exhaust. Later. Today, we're going to work on this beast. This is hubby's 2013 Harley Davidson Super Glide Custom. And what we're going to do on his bike today is we're going to change out the brake rotor. So we're going to change the front brake rotor. Front brakes are not really good on this bike. They're not adequate enough. And you want to be able to stop with this beast. So that's what we're going to change today. We're going to change the front brake rotor. This should be kind of exciting, so hopefully you guys will learn something as we do this. So let's get this started. So the first thing that we're going to do before we put the bike up on a stand is we're going to break loose the brake rotor bolts, the axle bolt, and the caliper bolts. The stand we have is not really a good stand, so we don't want to have to break these bolts on the stand and have the bike tip over. So we're going to do it first. Now it's time to put the bike up on the stand. This is what they call a scissors stand. The object here is just to bring up the front of the bike so the wheel is off the ground. All right, so now we have to take off the caliper and suspend it. There's one bolt. Make sure you hold the caliper as you take out the second bolt. And then you move the caliper out. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the pry bar, I'm going to go in between the brake pads and just separate them a little bit. And I'm doing this so that when we put on the bigger rotor, they'll already be separated. Now I looked at the brake pads, they seem to be okay. We should replace them, but we're not doing that. Okay, so we have the wheel off of the bike, and now we have to loosen these 5 bolts that hold the brake rotor on, and we have to remove them. So you want to put a knee down or get an extra set of hands to help hold the wheel. Okay, this is the brake rotor we just removed from the bike that is OEM, and this is the rotor we're going to put on. Arlen Ness 15-inch big boy brake rotor. What a difference when you look at both of them. Small, big, small, big. I think this will make the bike stop a heck of a lot better. Anyway, this comes with the mounting bracket, it comes with the screws, and very simple instructions on how to put it on. So now, let's put this big boy on. Okay, when you put the new brake rotor on the wheel, just to let you guys know, you use the OEM screws that you took off of the other brake rotor and use them for this brake rotor. Okay guys, and remember, when you're putting the screws back in, you want to put on blue Loctite, like hubby is doing right here for me. He's putting the blue Loctite on all the screws to go back in. All right, so after hubby was so generous to put all the Loctite on the screws, you want to screw them all down, all 5 of the screws. But today, we're going to torque down the rotor screws. We normally, we're going to torque down the rotor screws. Normally, we use this torque wrench. Problem is, this torque wrench doesn't go as low as we need it. So today, we are going old school. I don't know how many of you have ever seen this torque wrench, this type, but this is old school. You can see right here, there's that little point. Well, you have to watch that as you're torquing and make sure you don't go past the number you need. So this is what we're going to use today, since our other torque wrench doesn't go as low as we need, because these require a 16 to 24 foot-pounds of torque. Okay, so now I'm going to use the old school torque wrench, and like I said, you could put your knee on the tire, and you got to watch this little needle here, and we're going to go a little at a time. We're going to do 20, and there's 20. This little needle right here, and as I go to torque, the needle will move, and I'm looking for it to go to 20, and there it is. And that's how you use the old school torque wrench. So now we have the tire, the wheel back on the bike. We put the axle back through, and now we're going to take the axle cap. We're going to put it back under here. Okay, put on the axle cap, and when you put it on, you want to make sure, hopefully you can see it, the space right there, you want to make sure the spacing is the same on each side, and then you want to just slowly tighten it just an inch at a time on each side. And then your next step is you're going to put on the axle nut. We're going to tighten and torque that, and then we're going to come back and we're going to torque both of these bolts. So what I didn't show you guys is when I loosened the axle nut. And what you got to do is you got to take a little pry bar, put it through the hole on that side of the axle. And of course you have your socket and wrench on this side to loosen it. We're doing the reverse. We're actually tightening it, and we are using, once again, the old school torque wrench, and is 18 to 22 pounds. So after I torqued the axle nut, I came over here to the axle cap, and I torqued both of the bolts for the axle cap. That is 132 to 180 inch-pounds. All right, guys, so now what we've done is this brake rotor kit comes with this piece right here, which is a spacer, okay? And what's nice about this kit is you get to use the Harley Davidson OEM brake caliper. So you don't have to get a new brake caliper, you don't have to worry about brake pads, none of that. So we attached the spacer, we've put on the caliper, we did this as a dry run to make sure everything works and fits, and it does. So now what we're going to do is we're going to pull each bolt out one at a time, Loctite it, and put it back in, and then we are going to torque these to 30 foot-pounds. So now what we're going to do, this is the last thing that you do, is I'm going to spin the tire, and hubby is going to pump the brakes. And the reason why we're doing this is so that the brake pads can seat against the rotor, because if you remember, when I took it off the caliper, we spread the brake pads so we could get the caliper back on. So again, you just want to spin the tire and pump the brake so that the brake pads will seat against the rotor. Also, Just a little tip for you guys. Once we put the brake rotor on the wheel, we took brake clean and we cleaned the rotor off, just in case there was any grease from manufacturing or finger grease. So make sure you wipe the rotor off, and if you end up touching it again, wipe it off. You don't want any grease. The only thing we have left to do now is for hubby to take the bike for a ride. And when he comes back, we're going to look at the seat lines on the rotor and see where they are. They will eventually seat the brake pads on the rotor, but we want to see in the beginning how it is seating and how much brake capacity he does have on the bike, depending on your seat lines that would be here on the rotor. So that's going to be the next thing we're going to do, is hubby's going to go ahead and take it for a ride and see how the brakes go. So you guys can understand what I mean about the seating of the brake pads on the rotor. If you can see, I'm hoping you guys can see, you can see from here to here the line. That's what you want to see on your rotor. You want to see that line starting to form and continue to form, and that line tells you that, you know, your brake pads are seated and that you have braking capability. If you do not see this on your rotor, then you don't have maximum braking capability. And again, in a bike, you really need that, but this is what you're looking for when I talk about the brake pad seating on the rotor. That's what you want to see. Well, hubby just got back from a very short ride, and hopefully you guys can see, but there is the contact patch that I was talking about, and the pads are seating, and he said the brakes are awesome. All right, well guys, that's it. The job's done. We put the bigger brake rotor on the front wheel of the Harley. It's over, it's done. It didn't take that long. It was a very easy job to do. So next video you guys might see with this Harley is going to be something that hubby talked about in his video where he hijacked my channel, which is the LEDs for this bike. And that'll be coming up in the future, so make sure you stay tuned and watch how we did the LEDs for this bike, over the winter. So that's it, guys. Until next time, remember, ride safe. See ya.